Hi, Aries. Hope you guys are doing really, really well. My name is Brian. I am your queer psychic bestie, and I have a reading for you guys today. This is going to be a mid month check in for the month of September for Aries. So, if you have Aries anywhere in your chart, maybe you vibe with Aries, you could be a cross watcher, whatever the case may be, this reading may resonate for you. As always, this is the internet, so take what resonates, leave what does not. If you would like to book a personal reading with me, you can do that through email or form submission on my website. Aries, this is a more of like a free-flowing reading. I don't do a set spread for the mid-month. I do 6 cards across. We clarify in twos, and it just leaves it a little bit more open-ended, creates more of like a conversation for me with your guides. It gives them a little bit more freedom of where they want to take it. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Bottom of the deck is your challenge. Represents what you're not seeing, what you're not looking at. We've got the Sun, the Queen of Pentacles, and the Three of Wands. So Aries, some of you may be mothers here. It feels like your challenge, your mid-month challenge, is doing things for you. You know, it feels like some of you, I'm getting less of like we're talking about your mom here. Queen of Pentacles is a mom card. So I'm getting less of like, this is your mother and more so some of you are mothers. But it feels like just in general, I mean, this may come from a mother wound. You don't really know how to like give back to yourself is almost what I want to say here. You know, with the Sun and the challenge, it also tells me that you struggle to maintain happiness. With that Three of Wands and the Seven of Wands as well back there in the challenge, I think you guys are just kind of, your mid-month is about prioritizing yourself and making decisions for yourself that feel good. You know, it's like if I want to go to the spa, I go to the spa. If I want to get a tattoo, I get a tattoo. If I want to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to treat myself. Okay. So it feels like your challenge here is really like getting into that energy of like, hey, I do deserve to treat myself. I do deserve good things. You know, let's dive in because you start with the Wheel of Fortune and Judgment. So like I said, making judgment calls, you know, making decisions that count is how I'm hearing it. With the Wheel of Fortune, that is sort of like your spirit team stepping in for you. It is sort of divine intervention, you could call it. The Wheel of Fortune is when your guides sort of step in to help you. You know, the Judgment card is about making choices. That's the decision-making card. So it definitely feels, Aries, like there are some calls to make. Maybe not literally. Or maybe literally, I don't know, towards the end of this month that I feel like are going to speak to you more than you're anticipating them to. Some of you also need to stop rushing. You know, I keep seeing a clock in my mind. That's usually my symbol for like time is on our mind. We feel like we're running out of time. You're not running out of time here, Aries. You're not. Yeah. Excuse me. That came out weird. Yeah. You've got the High Priestess, the Knight of Wands, and the Queen of Wands. So, like I said, it does feel like for some of you guys, for some reason here, you feel like you're running out of time. Now, obviously, if I'm talking to you and like let's say you're leaving an apartment and they're like, okay, you have to be out by December 1st. Yes, you're on a time frame. But for those of us that are just sort of like chasing happiness, chasing more conceptualizations, there's really no time frame for that, right? Like I don't have to figure out how to be happy by December 2nd. Do you know what I mean? I feel like with the High Priestess here, some of you guys need to follow your intuition a little bit more, okay? Listen to where your inner voice is leading you. Listen to where you have, I just heard the word hunch. You may find that you have hunches, Aries, like you have strong hunches. That's your gut. That's your intuition. Follow it, okay? That's really going to lead you to where you want to go here with that Queen of Wands. Queen of Wands is, I call her my Pussy popping queen. High self-esteem, high boundaries, high self-worth. You can't tell a Queen of Wands shit if she don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. I should say gender and energy have no place here. Completely. Everyone has everything, right? Masculine, feminine, somewhere in between. We all have that type of energy. But it feels like with this Knight of Wands here, it's almost like some of you guys, Knight of Wands can be a card of like throwing caution to the wind. And I'm not going to tell you to be reckless here, Aries, but I am going to tell you to go out of your comfort zone a little bit. But also don't think everything through to like a T. You know, I think some of you guys need to exercise a little bit more. Have fun with it right now, you know? I feel like you're just kind of being very rigid. Sometimes we have to throw shit against a wall and see what sticks. That's quite literally the Knight of Wands. It's throwing that shit against the wall and seeing what sticks. I think for a lot of you guys here, you would benefit a lot more from being a little bit more loose with your parameters, not adhering to such a like dogmatic sort of strategy. Just keep going straight, you know? It's a lot of rigidity here. And I feel like some of you are realizing rigidity doesn't breed happiness. I mean, it breeds structure, which can breed happiness, right? But I think a lot of you guys are being, again, overly rigid. You're being overly unmoving, and that's not making you happy, right? I mean, you have the Magician that fell out in the reverse and the Queen of Cups. Like, Aries, why? We need to focus on why we are not manifesting things that make us happy, things that speak to us. You know, Queen of Cups is emotion. So when we're talking about joy, happiness, whimsy, all of these things, they invoke emotion in us. Some of you guys, I feel like you run from that emotion. You're like, oh, I should get some more whimsy in my life. And then you're like, no, that's too scary. With the Magician being in the reverse, it's like a lack of calling it in. It's a lack of manifestation. And then the Queen of Cups is that feminine water energy, which is feeling your feelings really deeply. Sometimes as a fire sign, it can be really difficult to like feel those emotions, right? Because fire and water extinguish one another. But I think something you guys need to remember is that the way my guides are giving this to me is that you can be passionate about emotions. You can be passionate about your emotional health. You can be passionate about feeling your emotions, expressing your emotions. All of these things are open to you, right? It's not just, I think some of you with this Queen of Wands and the Queen of Cups, you're like, well, it's either emotion or passion. One begets the other, right? I think you guys are kind of being a little bit counterintuitive with yourselves right now. Yeah, you have the Fool bottom of the deck, like needing to take a leap of faith, needing to go outside of something that maybe is normal for you, going out of the comfort zone again. Yeah, Ace of Cups. I mean, some of you guys, I think the distinction you're making here is really a difficult one, right? That there's like a solid wall in between passion and happiness. It's just, you know, it's something you've made up to make yourself more comfortable, you know? I think a lot of you guys are also struggling in the area of like, how do I say this? Boxes. You know, like you put everything into a box, and then when something doesn't fit in the box, you sort of freak out, right? Well, this to me is kind of reminiscent. Some of you guys, let me explain a little bit about, so this may sound off a little bit, off on a tangent, but hear me out, hear me out. I really have an important point for you. The reason I call this channel Queer Witch Tarot is obviously, yes, I am queer, but I studied queer theory in college. That's what I have. I have a degree in sociology. The idea of queer theory, the premise of it is to deconstruct categorical thinking. So to queer our ideas about things, it's to remove those categories. Aries, by you putting things into boxes, you're creating more categories, therein creating less expression. It creates more of a dichotomy, and it creates a world where you find it hard to coincide with the different parts of yourself. And that's why I'm making this point here. Okay, maybe some of you could even think about it, well, how would I, you know, when I was in these classes in college, one of the biggest things we would always talk about is, okay, look at your school, look at this, look at that, how would you queer that space? When you're looking at the idea between your emotions and your passions, Aries, how could you queer that a little bit more? How can you remove those categorical thinkings, the categorical thought processes there? Okay, because that's what's going to get you into a place where you're not so, if it's not this, it's that. And if it's not that, it's this. Okay, two things can exist simultaneously at the same time. We just have to figure out how to hold space for that, right? Because you've got the King of Pentacles and the Emperor here. So some of you guys may be in management positions. King of Pentacles, Emperor, you may own your own business. This is very strong, like, leadership energy. The Emperor is the divine masculine. This is also known as the father of the tarot. Also card of Aries, so showing up in your own reading. It's taking control of our life. It's putting, what I think is so interesting is that here we are talking about remove some structure, Aries, and then here you are being like, well, no, I want to put more structure in. I think with this King of Pentacles, you guys believe that the formula to success is Y equals MX plus B. And I think you're really stuck on that formula when really success is so personal, and success varies from person to person, you know, and it's different for all of us, and it is nuanced, it is fluid, it is multifaceted. It is not just bim boom bop equals success, you know. But I think some of you guys hold on to that because it makes it a little bit simpler for you. I feel like, Aries, the collective that I'm connecting with this mid-month is trying to get you really uncomfortable, okay? Because I think you guys get uncomfortable when you can't put something into a very neat, ordered position. I think this is a father wound. You have the Emperor twice. So we've got the Emperor clarified by the Emperor. So definitely could be a father wound we're touching on here. But I also think because with the Six of Cups and the Three of Cups, Six of Cups talks about the past. Three of Cups is like celebration and rejoice, but can also be like gossip. This to me sort of feels like some of you guys may have had, like, keep in mind when we're talking about the father wound, we don't have to be talking about a literal father, a man, a biological, you know, I don't even want to say that, a man. The father wound comes from the idea of divine masculinity, which is energy. We all have masculine and feminine. This would just be out of who raised you. Some of us are raised by two women, two men, different sort of families, right? Out of who raised you, who is the more masculine? That's really what this is. That's where it comes from, right? But it feels like for a lot of you guys here with the Three of Cups, the Six of Cups, and the Emperor, I think you had a masculine figure in your life that was very, very connected to productivity and very connected to, like, well, I think for someone here, I don't know why, I'm trying really hard not to come off like super preachy with you, Aries, in this reading, but some of you guys are really deconstructing gender roles. I really feel like that's like a prime thing for you this month, Aries, because again, they want me to discuss how, like, you had some sort of masculine figure in your life that was very big into, you have to be the breadwinner. You know, you have to be the provider here. Relationships are 50-50, regardless who they're with. Romance, family, whatever. But when we're talking about the breadwinner, that's traditionally more of like a romantic sort of like role, right? Because the goal is to find like the feminine, right? So I think some of you guys are really deconstructing, well, I don't have to be the breadwinner. You know, like there is no shame in having a feminine that makes more money than you. You know, there's so many, again, relationships are 50-50. And what my guides are bringing up is that each individual person brings a different spin, point of view, asset to a relationship when they get into relation with someone. Okay, you have to remember that. There's so many more things that we bring to a relationship other than, well, how much money do you make? I think some of you guys are doing all of this in service of I almost want to call this like a corrupted idea of the masculine. I think that the masculine figure in your life tainted the way that you view masculinity. And this mid-month, the reason I think it's so challenging for you is because you're stripping that away, right? Well, if I strip that identity away as like the breadwinner, I have to do this, I have to be established. Who am I? What am I? You know, and that sort of creates turbulence within ourselves. But I also think this is why you guys are finding it hard to conceptualize emotions and passions in the same sentence, because you're so connected to this idea of like, well, they're separate. Things have to be separate and orderly and neat. And I have to fill this role and I have to be the breadwinner and I can't be emotional and I have to do this. And it's like, take a pause. Aries, take a pause. Okay? Yeah, you have Two of Cups and Strength. Card of Leo. You could have Leo in your chart. The way I almost want to phrase this is like, be brave enough to be soft here. You know, I think that's what a lot of this reading is also touching on, Aries. I think you guys have been, you know, rough and tumble and again hard and established and all of these very misguided traits of masculinity for so long that you're like, well, with the Strength card and the Two of Cups, everything is so difficult. I have to maintain this. Have you considered that things are difficult because you're maintaining it? I don't know why my voice keeps going out. I'm very hydrated, I promise you. You know, I think a lot of you guys are thinking, well, things are difficult, so I have to be strong, and I have to be this, and I have to be that. When in reality, you should be asking, is it difficult because I can't let this down, because I can't let it go? If I can't step outside of myself, outside of this persona, then is it not a prison? What's keeping you in chains, Aries? Is it you? Yeah, you have Judgment. This is a big moment for you guys this mid-month. You know, I think you're really seeing the way my guides are saying this is like the downfall of only finding home in one energy, right? Because we have to be home at home in masculinity and femininity, right? So I always describe it as like one home is always going to feel like my home, like my house. And then another, with the other energy, is going to feel like my vacation home. You know, so me and myself, I am very, if you can't tell by my room, at home in the divine feminine. I love femininity. I find femininity empowering, and I've always been more feminine. But when I need to access masculinity, I just go to my vacation home. Both feel like home for me, but I always come home, like I come back to my house in femininity. Aries, I would bank on the fact that you probably don't feel at home in feminine energy. That it feels foreign and uncomfortable and scary. At some point or another, we have to tackle that. Okay? Because your inability to be soft and less rigid is what's causing the uncomfortability for you right now. That's why Judgment is coming out, because this is like, these are big talks we're having. These are big things that we're processing right now, right? This is not just an easy, you know, I don't know, haha, I'm going to change my hair. Woo! More feminine haircut. It's a little bit deeper than that, right? Because you end with the Two of Swords and Justice. So Two of Swords is decision making, and then Justice is karma. Also card of Libra. You could have Libra in your chart. But it feels like, Aries, that you're... The way my guides are saying this to me is, you know, things have to change. You know, something has to shift or give. I heard those at the same time and I almost said shit. You know that something is awry here, that something has to change. I think you guys are just figuring out how to go about it. Yeah, you've got the Chariot, Five of Swords, the Four of Pentacles. Aries, you need to start asking yourself why it feels more comfortable to pull away. Your default here that I feel like you guys are struggling with is that every time you get close to this, whatever this is that we're talking about, this trauma response, you run, you pull away from it. And so it feels like with the Five of Swords, Four of Pentacles, you find it's self-sabotage, yes. But there's something, the reason we self-sabotage is because of comfort, right? It's comfortable to self-sabotage because it's what we know. It's what we're used to. You need to ask yourself why. With the Chariot here, what sort of victory, comfort are you getting from holding everything inside? From not opening up? From being stiff? You know, because that's how this feels to me, Aries. You feel like, you almost feel like you have a tension headache to me. You know, it's like you haven't allowed any part of yourself to relax. And so there's just this tension headache that's present. And I feel like that's a bigger problem than you think it is. You know, the way my guides want me to stress this to you is also important. That type of holding in emotion will manifest in your physical body, physical ailment. It will be headaches or, you know, muscle soreness, whatever it may be, but it's going to manifest and it's going to be painful. It's going to fucking suck, Aries. I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah. Wheel of Fortune with the Nine of Wands. I think this is a moment for a lot of you guys of needing to feel the fear and do it anyway. You know, with the Nine of Wands, that's the wounded warrior. And the Wheel of Fortune is, again, divine intervention. Your guide stepping in to help you. I just heard this really loud. I'm going to say it. You can't help someone that doesn't want it. Aries, you have to want to change. I may be here to point all of this out to you and show you the energy here, but ultimately, if you don't want to do anything about it, your guides really can't do anything. They can show you the way, they can push you, they can make you uncomfortable, but outside of causing a tower moment and throwing you down a flight of stairs, there's not much they can really do here. I think for you guys, the big lesson in this mid-month is that you need to recognize when something's wrong. I think that's the biggest lesson here. Is the recognition of, oh, wait, this isn't good. This isn't positive. This is hurting me. And then taking the proper steps to heal, get better. You know, it's like if you're really sick, you go to the doctor. If you have a virus, you go to the doctor. If you have a cold, you can nurse a cold, right? But more serious stuff, we go to the doctor. We go and we get the help that we need. Aries, at some point or another, we can only home remedy for so long before we're like, okay, like I have to tackle this. And with the Star, which is literally the card of healing, it's time for you to tackle it. It's time for you to dig your heels into the ground and get into the nitty gritty, get into the messy, emotional places and crevices that you don't want to get into, because guess what? If you don't do that, you never move forward and things never change. Okay? Let's get you an oracle card. This is the Angelarium. It is my favorite oracle deck. To date, I use it all of the time. It is a reimagining of the Falling of the Angels. Reads us to filth. It's great. So let's get you a card. Aries for the mid-month, please. What is their advice? What's the advice for Aries? Mid-month, please. Thank you. This is so fitting. I'm sorry. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. Because your guys are funny for this one. Your advice is Cliffoth, the Shadowed Scion. You're going to understand completely why I think this is comical. It's also number 69. That's not why I think it's comical. Let's be so for real. Okay. If there is an aspect of ourselves we must not leave unknown, it is the shadowed self. Failing to acknowledge our darkest qualities lets them grow unchecked, pushing their roots through the landscape of our lives. The existence of our shadowed qualities cannot be erased, only managed. Treating these tendencies with careful patience gives us the power to weave them back into our identities in controlled ways. Creating space and acknowledgement for our other side contains its chaos, restricting the harm it causes to ourselves and others. This whole reading has been about shadow work, babe. If we don't do shadow work, we will continue to hurt ourselves and we will continue to hurt the people around us. That's why I think that card is very on the nail for you, okay? Aries, that is your mid-month check-in. I am going to leave your reading there. I hope it was helpful. If this reading resonates with you or my reading style happens to resonate with you, I would really appreciate if you would consider liking and subscribing. We are on the road to 200 subscribers, which is exciting. If you guys would like to interact with me on a live basis, I do go live 3 days a week on Twitch. You can find me Wednesday and Friday from 6 to 8 p.m. EST, as well as Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. EST. There's also a Discord server you can join if you would like. It is a wonderful community of people, very caring, very loving, just all around amazing. And all my stream schedule updates go into Discord on the server. So if you want to keep up with that, that's where you can go. If you want that link, let me know in the comments. I'll drop it. Or stop by the stream, and one of the mods is always posting it. So Aries, I leave you with this. I hope to see you over on Twitch one day, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.